I made the same promise to myself hundreds, maybe even thousands of times that I would stop. I told myself I just didn't want it badly enough. I was wrong. In fact, I was stuck in a cycle of shame. So what happened? I broke that promise to myself over and over and over again. And after a time, I started to think I was crazy. Why couldn't I stop my sex addiction and my porn addiction with just that strong desire to do so? I kept going back to it over and over again. Here's what would happen. I would act out. So I would start looking at pornography. I'd go into a trance-like state, and actually a ritual. So there was different types of acting out that I would do. So while I was acting out, I would be kind of in this trance-like state. Once I started, I couldn't stop. And I would go through that ritual. And then on the other side of that, when everything was done, I had all this shame, fear, guilt, despair, terrible feelings, and I would promise myself I'm never going to do it again. And then sometime in the near future, after that promise, if you hook me up to a lie detector, I would pass. Yes, I'm never going to do it again. But at some point soon after I made that promise to myself, I'd get this restless, irritable, and discontent. Usually about 2, 3, 4 days in, restless, irritable, and discontent. And then the mental obsession would hit me, the desire to act out would hit me, and it would eat away at me, and eventually it became so big in my head the only relief that I could get would be to go and do it again. And I'd go through another cycle of acting out, another trance-like state, another ritual, emerging remorseful with a whole bunch of shame, again promising myself I'm not going to do it again. I lived in that cycle over and over and over again. And this is exactly the cycle I see with my clients. But that's exactly what an addiction is. So people blame themselves for this. They're like,
I must be weak. I can't stop this. Despite my biggest intentions, my highest intentions for myself, my promises to myself and to others, I just can't stop it.
And so we blame ourselves for years, thinking that we're weak, thinking that we have low willpower, and we hide it. What I always told to myself was, tomorrow I'll get it together, and so I don't have to get honest about this now, but tomorrow I'm going to do better, I'm going to have more willpower, I'm going to stop for good. And I keep making those promises over and over again, and I keep breaking them. It was one of the most traumatic things in my life, was realizing that I desperately wanted to stop something, but that I was utterly powerless over it and I couldn't stop. But that's what an addiction is. That's what sex addiction is. That's what porn addiction is. The actual primary symptom of addiction is an inability to stop despite a desire to do so. Most addicts want to stop after a period of time, and the consequences that show up in their life around the addiction, they want to stop, and they make a decision to stop, but they find that they couldn't. That's why, rightfully so, Alcoholics Anonymous came along in the 1930s and started calling it powerlessness, calling it an illness or a disease, because it was like it had a life of its own. It was like you got the flu, you didn't want the flu, but you got it, and you had to deal with it, and there was not much you could do but wait it out. So it was the same thing with the addiction. After a period of time, we don't want this stuff in our life, but we just keep doing it over and over and over again, and ourselves and everybody else in our life are really baffled. Why can't you stop? Why can't you just use more willpower? Why can't you just do better next time? Do it for your kids, do it for your job, all these things. None of that matters to a real sex addict. None of that mattered to me. I was going to completely destroy my life because I absolutely couldn't stop. That is what an addiction is. And if you have that and you're listening to this, you're probably like, yes, that makes total sense. To everybody else in the world, they look at me and they're like, he's crazy. Why would he keep doing that stuff with all the negative consequences in his life? Why can't he just stop? And that's what people who don't have addiction think of people that do have addiction, yet we're just baffled, and we just keep telling ourselves and others, okay, next time I'm going to do it better. So what's missing about that? Relapse is not proof that you're a broken person. It's just proof that you have an addiction. And it's also proof if you've been unable to do it on your own. So in other words, I would try to stop my addiction on my own, and for years and years and years, hundreds and thousands of times, hundreds and thousands of promises, I couldn't do it, right? So obviously I need to do something different than just trying to do this on my own. I wasn't broken, I just needed the help. Just like if somebody breaks an arm, You don't try to fix that on your own. You go to the ER, you go see a doctor, they reset the bone and they put you in a cast. You get the treatment that you need for something that you're utterly powerless over. If I break my arm, I'm not going to be able to look at it and will it away. I actually need to go to the doctor and get treated for that broken arm. It's absolutely the same thing with addiction. And so if you ask yourself, if hundreds of times of telling myself I'm going to stop on my own hasn't worked, what is the alternative? What should I do instead? Most people just kind of go and do therapy, and you go in once a week. There's nothing wrong with therapy. I'm a therapist. Nothing wrong with that. There's fantastic therapists out there, but we tend to go to therapy and kind of go in, talk about some stuff, not really have a clear plan for a long time, and that doesn't tend to work with addiction or sex addiction or porn addiction at the beginning. So what people actually need is they need a lot more support and structure and an actual step-by-step process that allows them to break the cycle of addiction. And that's what we do in my recovery coaching program for men. It's a 12-week program where you come into a community of others where you get structure and support and accountability, not only from me and my staff, but also from other people in the program, people that have struggled with the same issues. There's such strength in community. That's part of what we do. While you work through a curriculum that's specifically designed to help you heal the underlying issues so that the obsession goes away. What we find is the addiction is really a symptom of a deeper issue. So if we heal the core issue, the internal issue, what I call the life problem, then the obsession goes away. We don't fall into that cycle of strong obsession, desire to act out, go through the ritual and trance, emerge remorseful, promise, restless, irritable, discontent, obsession. In that cycle, what happens is we don't want to act out in the first place because we have healed the life problem or the internal problem. And that's part of it, but the other part of it is just to have all that support. What do I do when I do want to act out? How do I navigate this? How do I communicate with other people in recovery? These are very important aspects of it. So the program has a structure and accountability attached to it that's different than just coming in, talking about some stuff once a week, going home, not doing much in between, and then coming back with the same problem. That just doesn't work for addiction. You need structure, you need accountability, you need a process specifically to heal this issue. You need tools to manage urges that come up in early recovery. So it's important to do something different than just traditional therapy. Just to be clear, very, very powerful to do a structured program like what we do and simultaneously do therapy. So I'm not saying don't do therapy, because there's going to be parts of a structured recovery coaching program like ours that can be covered in therapy. So it's important also, if needed, you do therapy. But to have that support and structure at the beginning sometimes is even more important than having just therapy alone. So that's what we do. If you're interested with working with us, there's a link somewhere around this video. Click through that, you'll get to the website. You'll have an opportunity in there to schedule a call with one of our recovery advisors. Simply on that call, we're going to talk about what's going on with you. See, first of all, what a clear plan for you could be that you could literally take from that call. You could walk away, not join our program, walk away from that call with a plan for yourself that could help you overcome this. Or if it really made sense for us to take that plan and help implement it with you, that's exactly what we do in the program. Then you would talk about what it would look like working together inside the program. So if you're interested in that, click down below somewhere this video through the link and schedule a call with us. We'll see if we can help you. If not, you'll get a lot of value out of that call. It's a completely free call, and we'll talk to you soon.